Welcome to episode 9 of the Year of Love podcast. I'm your host, Allison Wu. I've really been excited. I've had a number of people I've known on the show and some I haven't known. Today is a friend of mine that I have known for more than 20 years. We work together in television news. Daryn Johnson is an award-winning director and also a nationally known voice talent. Daryn, welcome to the show.
Hello, my friend. It is great to finally be here. And must I say, I have to tell you, I have been waiting for you to do something like this for a very long time. We've had many discussions and now the world gets to hear them. So this is awesome. I'm glad you're doing it.
It's a little bit like so the world gets to hear some of the conversations that we've actually had. And now
Correct.
We get to talk about it with people listening.
Yeah, correct. It's awesome.
So I want to thank you for joining. You're coming from sunny Florida. I'm here in very wintry Pennsylvania.
Correct. Not sunny at the moment. In fact, we've had some tornado warnings, tornadic activity, but it seems to have passed us. So the skies have opened up, and it's starting to become a good day now.
Oh, well, it's always a good day when I get a chance to talk to people that I love. So let's talk about today's topic, which is really, we hear a lot about, moms and how they take care of kids and what have you. What's not always focused on is single dads and how they're taking care of their children. Daryn, you're somebody who has a lot of TV and media experience and built a whole career on that, but you've actually launched a really interesting initiative called Dads Rising, which is really aimed to help dads really think about positive parenting. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how that came to be.
Sure. I had been married and had 2 wonderful children and ended up divorced, and you went through the pain of divorce. I think that's probably pretty universal. Now there's different levels, of course, for everybody. For me, long story short, it was a separation logistically with my kids. At the time, we were living somewhere else. And so the children relocated. I was trying to get back to them. Ended up doing so. It took me a while to do it, but ended up doing so. And then that was great. We began to co-parent, which is very important. We can talk about that here a little bit. But at some point, it kind of occurred to me, and it was really interesting. I think sometimes the universe sends things to you. And it was kind of speaking to me through a guy that I might meet. I ended up renting a place, and the guy came out to fix something. And I don't know how we got talking, but he talked about the pain of divorce, and I don't even know how we brought it up. I guess he asked if I had kids, and we went from there. So I started getting enough guys talking about their pain. I had my own, and I had friends. I'm sure I talked to you about it. I've had friends that I certainly talked to that was wonderful. But it occurred to me that many times guys like to, this is generally speaking, handle it themselves, stoic, be strong for the family, for the kids, whatever. And I did a little bit of that too, but I realized real quickly there's problems in that. And so the more I started thinking about it, I think that's where the seed of an idea of Dads Rising began, is how could I help somebody else in need? That's one of the things that, by the way, you mentioned I was in television for many years. I was a director. I've done some acting and, again, the voiceover work. But one of the things that drives me, to be honest with you, is a sense of not just serving others, but inspiring others. And so it's a combination of both serving and inspiring them. And so I just kind of thought, how could I do that? So that's kind of how it first started. I'd say about 9 years ago or so. That was it was kind of in its infancy stage at that point in my mind.
Well, you've always been known as like the most inspirational person in the room, right? Wherever you've been. In fact, I think right behind you is a Field of Dreams piece, right?
Yes.
Right, a letter from the director after you wrote to him from Field of Dreams, which is obviously one of the most inspirational movies around. So you've always been known to inspire people. I guess now that when you've launched it, like what kinds of things, what kind of content are you putting out there? How are you engaging with dads?
Well, so to go back just a bit, it was about 2 years ago, and I didn't quite do a whole lot with it. I had posted a few things on Instagram, just didn't even call it Dad's Rising, just ideas, perseverance. You mentioned the Field of Dreams, which he very wonderful letter from this director of Field of Dreams, who ended the letter with, the best advice I can give you, young man, is to go the distance, go the distance. And so I would do little things like that. And then, as strange as this may or may not sound to anybody, it was around midnight and I couldn't sleep. And I had what I call a download from the universe. I had an idea, and it wasn't a voice necessarily that I heard. It wasn't, the room didn't light up, but I will tell you that the thoughts that I had weren't my own. Like, I can't sleep. What if I did something called Dad's Ride? It didn't work that way. I kind of just sat. I knew that something was coming to me, whipped out my phone, the notes section, and I just began to almost take dictation. The next thing you know, Dad's Phoenix, the Phoenix Rising, Dad's Rising. And it was just, that went on for almost 2 hours, believe it or not. And when I look back at my phone, I didn't have one book title, Allison. I had 11 book titles. And I didn't sit there during that time and go, what would be another one? It just, oh, okay. It's as if someone or something was just saying, this is what you could do. How about this business opportunity? How about that? Market it this way. Do that for dads. How about a program overseas? I could go on and on and on. Cookbook. I was like, oh yeah, dads like it just kept coming. So woke up the next day and was like, well, I feel like I've got a business plan. It's one thing to get an idea and then wonder, well, how can I turn that into something? It's another to get, this is the whole something. You just pick where you want to start. And I was like, well, okay. And so to answer your question, I have started very small at the moment, but on Instagram, basically. So there's a Dad's Rising Instagram page, Dad's Rising Facebook page, a lot of posts. And that's kind of where I've decided to start. There's been some things in my personal life, job changes and different things like that. So I've had to, focus on that. But I've got a podcast was in there. So we'll see, a YouTube channel. I mean, it's really kind of amazing. So right now, the main thing I'm doing is sending out my thoughts on things. A lot of times things that just come to me throughout the day or throughout the week. And posting it that way and getting a lot of responses, quite a bit, actually.
You're essentially creating community around
Yeah,
this idea around how dads can be more effective. And probably you don't even have to be divorced or anything to participate, right? It's really just about that parenting piece. I mean, it's so funny when you think about parenting guidance. What has it been like? How many years has Dr. Spock been? But essentially, a large part of that parenting burden has mostly been focused, or conversation has been focused around women, right? I think it's really fascinating that you're doing stuff to really engage men in the conversation, because men have shifted how they parent, right? If you think about, I think about my dad when I was growing up, I wanted him to be, Mr. Brady, and he wasn't. He was just a very different dad. It was a very different experience. But dads today, there's certainly a lot more, expected of them. What's been some of the reaction that you've received from the dads in this way?
Well, thank you for saying that about dads. One of the things I always used to say is, the commercials, choosy moms choose Jif. I'm always like, well, dads do too. We make sandwiches too, come on, dads. But some of the responses that I've received, these are in DMs, so direct messages that no one else can see. I mean, there's some comments that are posted on either Instagram or particularly on the Facebook page, but the direct private messages to me, it ranges from, just someone out of nowhere, I need you now. And it's a guy, and I'm like, whoa. I mean, it makes, that's the certain, in fact, I'm getting chills right now. I think about it, like, I need you now. Like, oh my God, I want to almost stop what I'm doing. And are you okay? And I have done that in some occasions, gone back and forth. One guy said, where do you live? I said, well, live south of, I'm in Florida. And he said, I wish you were up here. I think it was in Maine. It was about a year ago. And he goes, I wish you were up here in Maine, because I would invite you for coffee and cry on your shoulder for an hour. Oh my God, it killed me. And then one guy was sending me pictures of his daughter when he did have her every other weekend, or however the visitations worked for him. And so I was, boy, she looks great, and it just, even when I talk about it now, I just, it kind of, it really moves me to think, because I know the pain that I know the pain that they're going through, but there's more than that. I know the pride that they feel in their kids. And I get it. I mean, that's a thing, you mentioned your dad, and I had the pleasure of knowing him, of course, personally. A lot of dads of that generation, and I'm being very general here, but a lot of the dads of that generation were expected to provide in all the different ways, but maybe not necessarily emotionally. Certainly the mothers were perfect for that, they thought. And in fact, they were, and they are, even to this day, of course. But I do a lot of, my dad said the other day, he said, wow, I'm just watching you with your kids. You're like a little Tony Robbins with them or something. I said, well, I'm influenced by these guys, Tony Robbins and others. But I said, yeah, I inspire. That's kind of what I'm all about. And so why not with my kids? So I do get a lot of thank you so much. I had one guy say, he was from Virginia. And he said, I told my buddies last weekend, you got to check this guy out. And it's like, we already do. We've been checking him out for months. Where have you been? So it's good. Allison, I also hear horror stories too. I hear, and I don't know I don't know the situation, but I hear, I haven't talked to my kids, the visitation, whatever, the court, the judge, I don't know their personal case. But they just haven't had any connection with their kids. And they say it's killing them. It's eating them up inside. And they thank me for posting content that they can relate to. I think that what I do, what I say, and I'm saying this to anybody who's listening or watching or both, is that what I'm saying is not revolutionary, but I think what I'm saying is relatable, because it's from the heart. I don't sugarcoat it when I say it. And I think the dads and moms who also are part of this thing too, can relate.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the moms. I mean, you've got a really good co-parenting situation with, your ex. Can you talk a little bit about the role that mothers can also play in helping to support dads, whether it's through Dads Rising or even in their own relationships?
I would say, yeah, I would say to always, moms can do a good job of, I would say, this is coming to me now as you ask the question, so I'm going to say it, lift them up, lift the men up, or lift the dads up. Maybe meet them where they're at. I think that, in my personal case, I think that the biggest thing, it's almost like, yes, there was a relationship prior to the divorce, but at this point, it's almost like running a very important business, of which we are two co-owners of the business, being the children. And so it's very important for us to do that. And we do a fairly good job. I've had a lot of people actually say, I didn't know you guys were divorced, not because we are, together, look like we're together, but because we talk and because we make decisions together about the kids. And then we do our own thing, of course. I don't always hear that with some of the stories. And it's interesting. I do gear my content towards men, but it's not exclusively to men, meaning that it doesn't close out women at all. In fact, much to my surprise, and maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but I don't know the percentage exactly right now, but a lot of my DMs are from women saying, I wish my son would have gotten this content prior to whatever happened to him. Or a wife who says, you're right on. Or there was one, it was a co-parenting situation. And she was like, I was the one who filed for the divorce, had nothing but disdain for this guy. When I stumbled across your content, assuming he's also seeing it, I'm realizing you guys have pain too. I mean, as much, which of course we do. And so I don't know if that brought them together in terms of co-parents or what, but I do get a lot of responses from women who seem to relate as well to what I'm posting and what I'm putting out there.
Well, I think you guys have done an amazing job really focusing, right, on elevating the kids. Speaking of the kids, what do they think about Dads Rising?
Now they're teenagers. So of course they want to make sure what I'm posting, looks kind of cool and, is, they're wondering when I'm going to start getting like, well, you need to get on TikTok, which they're probably right. And that, that may be one of the things. I don't know if that was in the download, but I'm going to add to the download probably here sooner than later. But yeah, they are, they were very excited about it. And, I think that they relate. I mean, I've always tried to inspire them, and I've always talked well of their mother, obviously, with them. So what I'm posting, and you look at my content, none of it is anti-X, anti anything like that. So if anything, I think they encourage it. They want to see more of it. Then they start trying to talk about how this could turn into a business. I'm like, guys, take it easy. We're serving others right now. But yeah, if I let them to be my agents, more than likely, if I let them.
And get you on TikTok, of course.
Get me on TikTok. Yeah.
Well, you could do voices, you could do so many different things. TikTok has range for everybody.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
If you could give yourself, Daryn, some advice, because you have gone through some really challenging times, but you're in such a good place now. But if you could give the Daryn of before some advice, what would you have said to him?
Oh man. The Daryn, I'm gonna press on that. The Daryn of what particular time, starting out through the divorce, or prior to that, or?
I'm going to ask you to pick the Daryn you think most needed to hear what you know now.
Boy, I think the one thread through everything of all of this is perseverance. And that goes for the Daryn who was, driving to work when this first happened without his kids, and feeling like I just wanted the road to open up and swallow me. I didn't want to take my life. I didn't want to do anything like that. But boy, if that road opened up, okay. And that's terrible to admit, but that's how I felt. So somewhere I would want that Daryn to hear perseverance, but we don't have time in this podcast, but I could go back to the young Daryn in elementary school who almost went through with that test. There's extra credit. I'll just do the test. You should probably do the extra credit. My point is building something like perseverance. That starts from a young age. That's what I'm doing with my children, is teaching them to persevere now, because life's going to throw, not everyone that gets married is going to get divorced. Not everyone's going to have these type of things. And there's things all big and small. There's things way worse that have happened to people than have happened to me. And I think through it all is perseverance. That's the one thing I would sit down with my old self and say, listen, you're going to go through the grinder. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't go around it. Don't go under it. Go through it. Grit your teeth and go. It's not a macho comment. It's not a tough guy comment. That's a whole different thing. It's perseverance. It's gritting your teeth and saying, I'm going to go through this, not around it. I'm not going to go under it. I'm not going to try to divert myself. And I really do mean this with any other kind of, whether it's booze or pills or whatever, food, no, go through it. It will not feel good, but you will come through on the other side, one way or another. And then starts the building process, the rebuilding process.
That's amazing advice. So where can people catch up with you and find you on Facebook and Instagram?
So on Instagram, it's Dad's Rising, one word. And right now on Facebook, it's a Dad's Rising Facebook page. And if my kids have anything to say about it, we'll see me on TikTok soon. Boy. You
could learn a dance. You could do a voice. You could do anything.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Daryn, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate just checking in with you, and can't wait to see how this all evolves. Allison, I mean this sincerely. I am so honored to be a part of this, and to be a part of the content that you're putting out, which we all need so much of. So thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.